And by creating opportunities for end users to be involved early on, I really hope that will create excitement about transformation. As the results come from the project, we will also have end users ready to run with the ball.
Kia ora, I'm Troy, here as Chief Executive, and welcome to Stirring the Pot. Thanks for connecting. If you're new, here's what you can expect. We're going to be talking the tough stuff, the things that keep us middle minds up at night. There are many challenges facing our industry and equally many opinions on how we should tackle them. Stirring the Pot provides a facilitated forum to discuss and challenge these viewpoints.
So let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Today we're having a kōrero with Kenneth Husted, who is the project lead for the theme of knowledge transfer in the Endeavour Funded and HERA-led Ngākopa Construction 4.0 research project.
Kenneth, can you tell us about the theme of tech transfer within the Construction 4.0 project that you're leading?
So this theme is cutting across all the other work in the Construction 4.0 project. And maybe first of all, just point out it's fairly unique for an Endeavour project to have an explicit focus on the tech transfer. We chose to put an emphasis on the project as for this project it's really important that the technologies and the knowledge we develop as part of the project is actually getting out and working in the industry. Don't forget, the ambition is to transform an industry, and you can only transform an industry if knowledge is put to work, and also put to work in a way that it's not in small pockets, but it involves everyone in that industry and related to it. And one of the important aspects of tech transfer is where we earlier believed that this is something we can do and worry about at the end of the project when we have generated the knowledge and the models and the technology. Then we can start pass it on to the users. Then, especially when we talk about more complex technologies as the technologies underpinning Construction 4.0, it's really important that we start working with potential users really early on and understand their expectations and the particular situations they want to use the technologies in. You can say we end up in a way co-creating the knowledge and the technologies so they are fit for purpose. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have this project or the theme where we from the outset think about the transfer of the knowledge.
Yeah, definitely from a HERA perspective, it is a concern for us around how we ready the sector to adopt their research outcomes, especially since HERA works with manufacturing and construction, and we typically find manufacturing firms are much more au fait with emerging technologies than construction. And I guess that's really got to do with the types of companies that are operating within construction versus manufacturing. So it is going to be a challenge, that's for sure. Can you tell us about the team members on the research theme?
Within the theme, we have a dual focus. So we have one part of the project or the theme focusing on the core tech transfer aspects. And in that area, we have Dr. Yatming Oy, who is also a lecturer at the University of Auckland Business School with a background in innovation management and tech transfer, working at that. In the other area, we have Dr. Diane Menzies, who is very much looking into the regulatory aspects of tech transfer, how regulations and public policy and expectations across the society will have an impact on the uptake of technology.
And we did have Professor Jeroen van der Heijden working, but he left after the first year and he moved to an overseas university. I know that he had worked on basically setting the scene around the definition that we were going to use for the project, which included a narrow and broad definition. What were some of the other, I guess, high-level findings from the team?
Jeroen had the opportunity in the beginning to provide an overview of what is going on a global scale and some of the trends in the uptake of Construction 4.0 technologies. And it's really valuable to gain some of these insights into the mechanisms and also the benefits seen elsewhere in the uptake of technologies. And of course, as you mentioned before, then we have this difference between the manufacturing sector and the construction sector. And And that's a kind of a global issue that construction typically rely more on kind of a one-off projects. And we know with one-off projects, it's a little bit more difficult to capture value from more advanced technologies. And that's also something he had observed in his work and came up with some points. He also pointed out that for the successful uptake of Construction 4.0 technologies, it's really important to have a kind of a more systemic thinking around it, for example, including the full value chain, as benefits from the uptake is often dependent on kind of everyone in the value chain are on board and using similar technologies. Another important insight from his review is thinking about the narrow and the broad definition or understanding of Construction 4.0, as you mentioned before. And the narrow is just looking at the technologies, whereas the broader includes the social and the economic benefits of using the technologies. And this is a kind of a change in thinking that is also aligned with a kind of a change in thinking about tech transfer in general, where we increasingly consider what are the social benefits, what are the non-commercial benefits or implications of using new technologies. Mm-hmm. This is also even more important to consider when we bring in the systemic aspects, because systemic aspects, when we talk about construction, is not limited to the key industry players, but also other groups in society that kind of are impacted by construction and construction activities. And in our thinking around the tech transfer, we have moved on from having a more narrow technology-focused approach to approach which is much more inclusive, and we are working on developing an approach that is much more explicit about capturing also the social impact, the economic impact of these technologies. As an implication of that, we also have to think the participation much broader. So instead of thinking about users that are just within the industry and they're thinking about these technologies, we also have to think about other more indirect users of the technology and what they have of expectations to Construction 4.0 technologies.
Mm-hmm. And Diane has done a number of focus groups with end users and other stakeholders. Can you overview what is the range of stakeholder engagement that the theme is involved with?
Yeah, so that's a really exciting work Diane has been doing over the last year. And besides collecting information, you can say it's also in a way preparing for the very transfer of knowledge by having this interaction with a wide range of stakeholders. And that will range from key players in the construction process, designers, architects, construction firms, and also technology providers or suppliers. And as one side, and that was primarily collected through a focus group methodology, where we had the opportunity to collect a wide range of input, but also enable the participants to shape opinions and exchange opinions in the session. So this is a kind of a very interesting method for getting a little bit more in depth and understanding the underpinning thinking. And alongside that, Diane also ran a Vanaga with involvement of rural communities at the East Coast. And the purpose of that was to start getting a broader view of the expectations to Construction 4.0, and of course, especially getting a Maori view on Construction 4.0. What can this type of technology do to enable a kind of a Maturanga Maori thinking and framing? What kind of expectations would there be to the technology? What should it deliver? For example, when we look at circularity, we often think from a more narrow perspective on understanding product characteristics and less about their provenance. And so from both those streams of studies, we have got a lot of formative input to understand the tech transfer, but also the very technologies we are developing.
And Diane did run focus groups also that include a range of government stakeholders, MB as a regulator, Kaingaora as a key end user. So that was a really important part too, to make sure that we were going to have an outcome that was going to be suitably adopted.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, because that's an important part of it, also to understand potential barriers from a system perspective and a kind of a policy formation perspective for adopting construction 4.0 technologies and get those out in the open at an early point. So one can think about it in the developing of the technology, but also start addressing potential pressure points that would slow down a potential adoption of these technologies.
Mm-hmm. In terms of that broader definition, I think that's really something that sets this research apart. There has been quite a decent number of research programs coming out around Construction 4.0 now, but none of them are really looking more from that broader perspective that your own introduced. And particularly for us in the context of New Zealand, having that Māori perspective makes it really unique. Who in the sector do you think has responsibility for knowledge transfer? Who should be, I guess, the translators of this knowledge into practice?
Yeah, so that's both a very easy and a very difficult question. It's easy because, in principle, everyone should be involved in different ways. Knowledge transfer is an activity that kind of involved both the source of knowledge, but also the receiver of knowledge and mediators and so forth. So everyone will have a role to play, but the key question is who should be more responsible for things to happen and that it actually starts taking place. And we see with this type of technology and knowledge, it's really important that it's made available in a kind of a user-friendly form. And it's often helpful to have platforms where the knowledge is communicated and made available. And if it's also supported by kind of educational activities or other types of knowledge dissemination, for example, through the book we are currently working on in the Construction 4.0 project, where we are trying to, at a very early point in the process, to communicate what we are doing in the project and what are our ambitions, how the different projects fit together. I have mentioned a few times this about the systemic aspect in the use situation, but we also have a lot of systemic aspects in the knowledge creation side of things, and where we try to really, from the outset, to relate to all the different perspectives that are relevant for Construction 4.0. And you can say here it's clear that, and that's also why we have this explicit theme in our project, that we see it as kind of also the obligation of the Construction 4.0 project to facilitate or ignite this knowledge sharing and use of Construction 4.0 knowledge across the industry and among its stakeholders.
In terms of the overall project's ambition, and I like to manage people's expectations that it's really not going to deliver transformation, but it's going to inspire transformation and deliver some tools to achieve that. How do you see this theme supporting that ambition?
I think it's really important to hold on to this ambition of inspiring transformation. And the tech transfer theme and the research we are doing, I think, can really help achieving that by, one, contribute to the very transfer of the knowledge we have, whether it's through the book project or similar project where we help communicating what is going on in the project. But I think even more importantly, to enable the involvement of user groups early on project, because we know that no one will be inspired by something if they haven't taken part of it. And by creating opportunities for end users to be involved early on, I also really hope that will create excitement about transformation. And we will see, as the results come from the project, we will also have end users ready to run with the ball.
So there you go. Thanks for joining our conversation with Kenneth today. If you'd like to connect more with him, you'll find his details in the show notes. To truly unlock the potential of Construction 4.0, we need to embrace a blend of global innovation and local insight. It's not just about adopting new technology, it's about crafting a culture that values knowledge transfer, collaboration, and respect. Only then can we create a sector that's resilient, inclusive, and future-ready. Food for thought till we see you next time. So hit subscribe, and if you liked what you heard today, please like, review, or share with any metal minds you know. Let's spread the word. Are you ready to shape the future for construction in Aotearoa? Then you won't want to miss our upcoming Construction 4.0 conference on Friday the 15th of November 2024. This event is all about innovation, sustainability, and the cutting-edge technologies transforming the way we build. Join thought leaders and industry experts as they share insights on how Construction 4.0 approaches can elevate your projects and push your business to new heights. Plus, a reminder that pre-sales of our very first book sharing our research outputs in Construction 4.0 is open. This is your chance to dive deeper into the tech, design, and sustainable practices that are paving the way for our industry's future. To register for the conference and express your interest in the book, check out the details in the show notes.